Okay, so I hope everyone can hear me. Okay, so we will be starting our session. And we have already covered few examples in our few sessions. So we are going to continue with that. And in our last session, we have seen how we can use array, and we have used uh, we have seen few examples using array, and prior to that we have also seen how you can use nested looping statements. Okay, so these were all the examples which we have seen. So today we will continue with our examples, and in today's session we are going to see more examples on array, and we will also cover two-dimensional arrays, and we will see a few examples of strings as well, how you can create and use strings. So I'll just check whether the virtual environment is working. Okay, so till the interface is loading, just we'll discuss few points. So in today's session, we are going to cover two-dimensional array, and we will see some examples of it. So we have already seen how we can create an array. So just recalling from our theory session, we can create whenever we want to create an array. So we have already seen how we can create an array. So whenever we want to create an array, so we have to use data type and array name, and then subscript. Here we specify the size or the element number of elements which we want to store in an array. So this is known as one-dimensional array because it has only one subscript. So whenever you want to create two-dimensional array, so we know that we have to specify subscript, two subscript for creating the two-dimensional array, and one subscript can be used as the row size, and second subscript can be used as the column size. Okay, so this will create two-dimensional array. This is how we can create two-dimensional array, and we can create as many as a dimension for the array in our C programming. So we have already seen those things in the theory sessions. So let's say I want to create two-dimensional array. So I can create, like, use the data type int and then name of the array, any name I can give, and if I use 2 and 3. Okay, so this means that 2 is the row size and 3 is the column size. You can consider this. And the total number of elements this array can hold are 2 multiplied by 3. So it means 6. So how it is possible? Because this array would create 2 rows and 3 columns. Okay, 2 rows and 3 columns. Two rows and 3 columns. So this is VF. So this is only for our logical view, and we have already seen how the arrays are stored in the memory. So now we are going to use these two-dimensional arrays in our program, and we will see few examples of it. So before we begin with the example, there is one more thing you need to understand, is that whenever we are creating the two-dimensional array, so it means we can create two types of arrays. One type of array is known as n by n array, and another type of array is known as m into n array. So here this means that n by n means that the array is having same number of rows and column, and m into n means the array is having different number of rows and columns. So here, if n is equal to 2, then n by n means we are creating 2 by 2 array. So because the array are also be known as the matrices, you can also consider them as matrices. So here, whenever we create the array and denote it as n by n, it means we are creating array of the same number of rows and columns. So if n is equal to 2, it means we are creating the array 2 into 2. And if n is equal to 4, it means we are creating array 4 by 4 array. And m into n array means we are creating the array of different row and column sizes. So here, if m is equal to 2 and n is equal to 3, it means we are creating array of 2 rows and 3 columns. This thing you need to keep in mind whenever you are creating array. So we can create array either of similar number of rows and columns, or we can also create array of different number of rows and columns. So first I will show you how we can do this, then we will see some examples. So through example only, I'm going to illustrate how you can create m into n array and n by n arrays. So the virtual environment is not working, so today I will be using Eclipse IDE. Okay, so let's declare an array. Suppose I want to create n by n array. So what I'm going to do is first I declare a variable n, and then I declare my array int let's say name of my array is arr, and let me assign some maximum size to my array. Okay, so first what I want to do is I'll ask user to input number, input the size of the array, and then I accept size in the n variable, and then I execute the loop. So for loop also I need variables I and j. For I is equal to 0 to I is less than n, and then I plus plus increment, and inside for loop there is another for loop for the column. So j is equal to 0 to j is less than n, and then j plus plus. Okay, so here I ask user to input some values. So before that I'm going to print a message to user input %d elements and n into n elements. Now I will accept the elements inside the loop. This will be I and then j. So after this we can print the array elements. So this programs accept the elements into n by n array, and then we print those elements. Okay, so now I execute. Okay, so this is not displaying the message. So here in Eclipse, I need to use, I just clear the buffer. At the beginning and at the end of my program so that I can get the output. Because sometimes in Eclipse, this is the problem with the console based application. Showing one error. Some build error is there. Yes, let me close and open it again. So in our program, what I did is I have specified the array size. So first what I'm going to do is I ask user to input a value in n. Let's say if users input the 2 in the n, then this is going to create the array as 2 into 2. So the first message to the user will be printed as input 4 elements because 2 by 2 is 4. And then we will input the total 4 elements in our array. So one by one we are going to input the element. Let's say if user input the elements as 1, 2, 3, 4, then finally we will get output as 1, 2, 3 and 4. So this is what our program is going to do. Program is working, but it is not giving proper output. And maybe I have to here. Before this. Program is working, but sorry for the interruption. There is some problem with the buffer. Try another function. Okay, so this is working. So first it will print message input size of array. So let me give the size as 2. Then it will ask user to input 4 elements. Now I can input 4 elements, 1, 2, 3 and 4. So the elements of the array will be printed like this. So this is the simple program which displays how we can use the array, and you can see here okay, you can see that we have a variable called n. So first what we are going to do is we are going to input this value 2 into the variable n. So then we print the message to the user. So this message will be printed, and this 4 means n by n. So it means the user will input the total number of 4 elements because we have supplied the row and column as 2. Again, because here we are creating the array as n into n array. So we do not need to accept the row and column size different, because here the row size is equal to the column size. So hence we are getting the size only at once. And after getting that size, what we are going to do is we are then uh, accepting the elements, and this loop execute from value of I is equal to 0 till 2 means, so n is 2, it means this loop will continue from 0 till 1, and here also the size of n is 2, so this loop will also continue from 0 till 1. So when first time when the value of I is 0, okay, so I is always for the row and j is always for column. So first time when the value of I is 0, then the element that would be stored when the I is 0. So here the value of when the value of I is 0, then j will start executing. So I is 0 and j is also 0 at initial stage. So first element would be stored here. Then we again increment j, and if you remember, we have already learned this in the nested looping statement, that whenever the inner loop start execution, so the outer loop will continue only after the inner loop has completely finished its execution. So this condition has to be dissatisfied in order to the inner loop to be completed. So here the j will be incremented, j will become 1, and the element which we input to will be stored here. And then j will become 2 and this condition dissatisfied, then we again increment the value of I. So I will become 1 at the next iteration, I becomes 1, and then j again start execution, and j again execute from 0 till 1. So when the value of I is 1 and j is 0, then this 3 will be stored here, and when j will become 1, then 4 will be stored here. And after that this condition dissatisfied, so this will terminate the inner loop, and I becomes 2 and I is less than 2, 2 is less than 2, this condition also dissatisfied, so we come out of the loop. And then here in the next statement we are going to print all the values. Okay, so here here again we start this loop. I value of I is 0, and same we are printing here. So before printing this loop, what we are printing is we are first printing one tab space, then printing the element, that is the first element, increment the j, so that will print the 2, and then this loop terminates, and after, when this loop terminates, then we are printing a new line. So this will print a new line, and then it will move to the this outer loop, and here I becomes 2, and when I becomes 1, and when I is 1, j is 0, so 3 will be printed and 4 will be printed likewise. Okay, so this is how the execution works. Now we are going to see how you can create m into n array. So for that we need to accept the row and column size separately. And first we input, so we ask user to input row size and column size. So let's suppose that the column size we are accepting in M, sorry, row size in M and column size in N. Then we can ask user to input the elements. Okay, so this will ask user to input row size and column size. So first I input the row size as 2 and then column size as 3. Then it means that the total number of elements would be 2 into 3. So 6 elements we need to input. So because this will create the array as 2 rows and 3 columns. So let's say the elements are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Oh, sorry. We have to specify this would actually create the array of 3 rows and 3 columns because we haven't changed the looping, we haven't changed the upper bound of the outer loop. So because we are accepting the row size in M, therefore I should be executed from 0 till less than M. Okay, now we will get the 2 rows and 3 columns, and now the element 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. So this will create the array of 2 rows and 3 columns, as you can see here. So now we are going to see, we are going to create the M into an array in our program, and we will see how we can use this array in the practical application. So basically this type of array can be used in the problems like matrix. So here we are going to see the example of matrix multiplication. So matrix multiplication is the product of the two matrices which are implemented using two-dimensional array. And whenever we are going to implement the matrix, so we can have the matrix of we can have a matrix which can have different number of rows and columns. So here we are going to create the M into N matrix. We can have M into N matrix. So let's say this will be my first matrix, and another matrix is E into Q. Okay, so this is again similar to the M into N, means we are having different number of rows and columns. Okay, so let's say if our matrix, so let me explain you what is the matrix multiplication. So let's say these are the two matrix, and suppose these two matrix have same number of rows and column, means we are having 2 by 2 matrix A and 2 by 2 matrix B as well. This is just because I want to explain the multiplication process. And let's say the elements here are 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, 6, 0, 7. Some elements are there. So whenever we multiply a matrix, so the elements in the first row of the matrix are multiplied with the elements of the in the first elements of the first matrix of the row of the row element of the first matrix are multiplied with the column element of the second matrix. So for example, here the 1 will be multiplied with 5. So 1 into the output would be 1 into 5, and then first we multiply this element with this element and this element with this element and add the result. So 1 will be multiplied with 5 and 1 will be multiplied with 0. Sorry, and then 2 will be multiplied with 0. So 2 will be multiplied with 0. Okay, so all the elements in the first in the column of the first matrix should be multiplied with the row of the second matrix. So here 1 will be multiplied with 5 and 2 will be multiplied with 0, and we add their result. So this will be the first element of the resultant matrix. Similarly, here again what we are going to do is we have to multiply the first element of the this first matrix with the element in the second column of the second matrix. So here 1 into 6, 1 will be multiplied with 6, and then the 2 will be multiplied with 7. So 2 will be multiplied with 7. And similarly here 3 will be first multiplied with 5. So 3 into 5 plus 4 into 0, and then 3 will be multiplied with 6, and 4 will be multiplied with 7. Okay, so the resultant matrix, so the first element of the resultant matrix will be this element, it means 5, and the second element would be 6 plus 14, that is, sorry, 6 plus 14 is, 6 plus 14 is 20, and then 5 into 3 is 15, 4 into is 0, so this will be 15, and this element will be 46. So this is how the matrix multiplication works. For this we are going to implement the program. And here what we are going to do is we need to have some variable. So m into n is there, I into j we keep it for the loop m into n, and as well as we are also going to have the element p and q. Okay, so and we are going to specify the matrix as well. So here let's say this matrix is A. I'm going to smaller size, and second matrix is also, this is assume that we are specifying the maximum number of rows and columns, that would be C. and then we need to input elements in the first matrix. So input row size and column size of matrix A, and then we will input the elements, and same thing will be repeated for the matrix B. But here what we are going to do is we are going to have another variables for row and column size. This will continue till row size, and here till column size. So we will input the element in the second matrix. So here matrix A, and here matrix B. Okay, so this is the input part. This is how we get the values for the both the matrices. And now then the next is the main part, main logic, where we are going to multiply. So here we need first we need to check there is one condition, and the condition is that whenever we are multiplying the matrix, so you always have to remember that the here we are having same size of matrices, so no issues. But whenever we are, because we have M into N matrix and P into Q matrix, it means both the matrices can have different number of row and size. So whenever we are having such kind of matrix, then there is one condition always needs to be satisfied, and that is the column size of the first matrix and the row size of the first matrix, that is N and P, these two must be equal, then only the matrix multiplication is possible. Otherwise the matrix multiplication is not possible. This is the condition with the matrix multiplication. So this is because the resultant element we are getting as the output of the matrix multiplication. So for this we need to have one condition specified before applying the multiplication, and that is we need to check if N not equal to P. If N and P are not equal, it means we cannot multiply both the matrices. Okay, so here we simply print a message that the matrix multiplication is not possible. Otherwise, we can multiply the matrix. So you can also do this. You can also specify this before getting the elements for the second matrix. Okay, so after in getting the size of the second matrix, so at that time we can, before getting the element, before storing the element in the second matrix, first we check, and if this condition is dissatisfied, then we print that the matrix multiplication is not possible. Otherwise we can input the element for the matrix B. Here input %D elements for matrix A. Okay, so this is here we are accepting the size of the matrix, and then we are accepting the elements in the first matrix, that is M into N, and then we are getting the size of the second matrix, and then we are checking whether the the column size of the first matrix and the row size of the second matrix is equal. If it is not equal, then the matrix multiplication is not possible. If these are equal, then we can get the element of the second matrix, and after that we apply our logic. So this whole part should be inside the else block. This is our else part, and here we are going to put the logic. So the logic is we have to use the formula. So what is the formula we are going to use is that it is a very simple. So on the first, what we need to do is we need to multiply the elements. So what we are multiplying, let's say this matrix is A and this matrix is B. So A ij means the particular element. So if I is 0, j is 0, it means this element is multiplied by B. And remember, here we need to use the value. So for this we need to have one more loop. Okay, so let me first write the code, then we are going to understand. So I need to have 3 loops. So here what I'm going to do is I am having I, j and k for the third loop. So one more loop inside this loop. Okay, so, the first loop should continue till the M, and the second loop should continue till E, and this till Q. That is our K. Okay, so we need to first multiply. So what we are going to do is we are having one more variable for sum. So we take it as S. So S is equal to S plus, because we are also adding. So after multiplying one element of the first matrix with the other element of the second matrix, we then add, and the multiplication of other elements of the two matrix. So sum is equal to sum plus and then matrix A. So A here, this should be I, and okay, so we can have it here K and multiply by B and K, and this one is J. So this is the formula which we are using here. Okay, so we will add this. I'm going to explain this with the code, and after this loop completes, if you do not understand it, then don't worry, I'm going to explain this with the example values. So here C is our next matrix, and then we need to store the sum of the elements which we have multiplied, which would become the first element of the third matrix. So this will be I, and this should be J, Ij equal to, and then we store the sum. This would become the first element of the matrix, and after storing this we have to initialize again sum with the 0, because we have to recalculate the sum for the other elements of the third matrix. So we initialize this sum with 0. Okay, and after this we can simply print the matrix. This is the logic for multiplication, and after this we can simply print the matrix. So here I'm going to copy this code and paste here. I think I need to paste in the else part itself. Here we are going to print the output. Elements for elements of matrix. See, you can also do one thing. You can print both the matrix A and B and then print their multiplication also, but due to time constraint I am not writing the code. So you can have, so the remember that the element, the loop should be executed till m. First loop should be executed till m, and the second loop should be executed till q. Printf. And just build this project and try to run. Okay, to input row size and column size of the first matrix. So I just take 2 by 2. So 2 by 2 is the first matrix. So I'm going to input the elements, and the elements we want to input is 1, 2, 3, and 4. So 1, 2, 3, and 4. Now the row and column size of second matrix. So here also I'm specifying 2 by 2, and then elements are 5, 6, 0, and 7. So 5, 6, 0, and 7. Okay, so here you can get the result. The result is there, but first we need to properly format the output. Then you would be able to understand this. So in 2 by 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 2 by 2, 5, 6, 0, and 7. 5, 6, 0, 7. Okay, so this is the output: 5, 20, 15, and 46. Just a minute. Just execute once again, so you would get the proper output. Okay, so 2 by 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 2 by 2, 5, 6, 0, and 7. Okay, so this is the resultant matrix: 5, 20, 15, and 46. And this is the output which we have calculated. So here how the code works, that we need to understand. So in this code, I'm not going to explain the logic for how we have entered the element, and straightforward moving towards how we have calculated the multiplication. So let's say our matrix first, our matrix is A. So A is having value 1, 1, 2, 3, and 4, and B is also having value 5, 6, 0, and 7. Okay, so here what we are going to do is we are having this the third matrix. Okay, so remember that M, what is M? M is 2, and P is also 2, and Q is also 2, because we have the same number of rows and columns. However, you can have the different also, given that the column size of the first matrix and the row size of the second matrix should be similar. So here I is executing this. So I is 0. Now J will start executing. J becomes 0. Now K will start executing. So here K is 0. I is 0 and K is also 0. So it means 0 and 0. 0 and 0, here 1. Okay, so this would be our third matrix. So 1, and then K is also 0. K is 0 here, and J is also 0. So 0 and 0 means this element. So 1 into 5. So this would be multiplied 5, and 5 will be stored here in S. Next time, which is going to increment? K. K is going to increment. So K will become 1. Okay, so K will become 1. A is 1 now. A is also 1 now. I is still 0. and j is also 0. So 0 and 1, which element is there? 0 and 1 means 2. 2 and 1, 0. Which element should be multiplied? Which element should be extracted? This element, because 1 and 0, 1 and 0 multiply by 2. So 2 into 0 is 0. So this whole would result in 0 and will be added with the 5. So 5 plus 0 is 5. Okay, so after this k will become 1. The value of k will become 1. I have okay. So after this, the value of k will become 2, and this condition is dissatisfied. So loop will terminate, and we are going to execute this statement. So here the I is 0, still 0, and j is also 0. So the sum will be stored at 0, 0 of the array C. So 0 and 0. So 5 will be stored here. After this, sum will initialize to 0, so sum will become 0. So sum here will become 0. Okay, sum becomes 0. And then we reach to the this loop. Okay, from here we go to this loop. Okay, so because this has completed execution, but j has still not completed execution. After j complete execution, then we will go to the I loop. Okay, so j, previously j was 0, now j will be incremented to 1. So j will become 1. Remember, I is still 0, j becomes 1. So here k becomes now again 0. So I is 0 here, k is 0, and here again k is 0 and j is 1. Okay, so here again what is going to happen? 0 comma 0, 0 comma 0 means 1, and 0 comma 1 of the second matrix. 0 comma 1 means 6. So 1 into 6, this should be multiplied. Okay, so 1 into 6 will become 6. So 6 will be stored in the S, and k will increment again. So k will become 1. So now k is 1. Okay, so 0, 1. 0, 1 means 0 row, first column 2 into 1, 1. 1, 1, 1 means 7 into 7. 2 into 7 into 14. So 14, this would give 14, and 6 was already there. So 14 plus 6 is 20. So S will become 20, and after this K loop is going to complete its execution. So we will reach to this point. So here 20 will be stored in I comma j. So what is I? I is still 0, but if you remember that j has become 1. So 0, 1, 0 and 1. So 20 will be stored here, and after that we initialize. Yes, so if you can see, this is the same element which we have. Okay, 5 and 20. So this is how the loop executes. today we have seen how we can use this matrix multiplication in two-dimensional array. Although I wanted to cover the string example as well, so maybe we'll cover this in the next class. I'm just going to execute this program again with the different number of rows and columns, just to illustrate that you can also have different number of rows and columns. But the column of the first matrix and the column size of the first matrix and the row size of the second matrix should be similar. So first matrix is 2 by 3 matrix. So I'm going to input the elements. So it means 2 rows and 3 columns. So 1, 2, 3, and again 1, 2, 3. Okay, now the size of the second matrix. So here, remember that the row size of the second matrix should be equal to the column size of the first matrix. So I'm going to have the 3 here because the last matrix has the column size as 3. And here I'm going to have 2. Okay, so 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Okay, so this is the output. Okay, so how we got this output? Okay, so here what we have done is we have specified the first matrix as 2 into 3 and second matrix as 3 into 2. Okay, so I'm just giving the smaller number. You can try with the other greater values as well. So this would create a matrix. So in the first matrix will be created as the 2 rows and 3 columns. So 1, 2, 3 will be stored here, and 1, 2, 3 again will be stored here. And second matrix is having 2 columns but 3 rows. So 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3 will be stored here. Now this will be multiplied with this. So the resultant matrix will be having 1 into 1 plus 2 into 3 plus sorry, is 2 into 3 . I think 1, 2, let me try with some different values. I take smaller one, so 1 and 2, 2 and 1, There is some printing mistake. Okay, maybe I'll check this logic and let you know in the next session. So is there any question somebody want to ask? If anybody want to ask, please let me know. Is there any question? I think if there are no questions, then we can end this session. Yes, one person has raised a hand. Yes, Devashish, please ask.
Good evening, sir.
Yes, good evening.
Yes, sir, actually, I had a question. Like in the program, you had used set buff like function. Can you
Yes, yes.
please, sir, explain again about that function? Why we use that, and if you not use that, what will happen? Can you please explain,
Okay.
sir?
This function, right? So this function, because I am using this
Sorry, sir.
Eclipse.
Actually, I am unable to see the screen, sir.
Oh, just a minute. Can you see the screen now?
Yes, sir. Right now, I'm able to see.
So you are asking about this,
Yes, yes,
the function which I have highlighted. Okay. So
yes,
because
sir.
here, yeah, Eclipse, here I am using the Eclipse IDE. And here the set buffer function is I have used. And this function, if you see, I have used two parameters. Okay.
Yes, sir.
So here std out means output stream. Okay. And here the second parameter is null. So what happens whenever we execute a program, whenever we execute a C program? So let's say this is our program. Okay, so whenever our program start executing, so there are three streams for our programs are created, and those streams are input stream, output stream, and error stream. So input stream is also known as standard input stream. So we call it as std in. Output is known as standard output stream, so std out, and error stream is known as std err. So these streams are open because, so first you need to understand what is a stream. So here stream is nothing but it is a channel. Okay, it is a channel or a medium from where our data flow in and out of the program. So basically, when we talk about std out and std err, so this is actually both the output stream. Both are the output because it generates the output, and this is the input. This is the input. So standard error stream is nothing but it is the output stream only. So it means that our program needs to have some channel from where the data flows into the program in and out. So stream is the channel or medium, and stream can be binary or a character stream or a text stream. Okay, so basically here in our program we are internally dealing with the binary stream. So here what happens is when our program start executing, so at that time a program requires some input. So we usually provide input from the standard input devices, and that is our keyboard. So the data from this device, which internally also acts as the software, because we are whenever we input some keys, that has to be converted into some form and then it goes into the program. So our program requires some stream from in which the data from our input device should go into the program. And similarly, whenever a program displays some output, so we need to output this to some standard output device, that is our screen or terminal or anything. Okay, so for that program uses the output stream. Okay, so here what I am doing is sorry, I have called the set buffer function and pass the two parameter std out to null. Std out means standard output stream should be wiped out, should be cleared before we start executing our program, so that we can get the proper output. Because in Eclipse, in this ID, this is happening. If I remove this program, so you will not create, you will not see any output here. Okay, at the beginning, because the maybe some buffer is occupied by something, and that is why we are not going to use, we are not going to see the data. So in order to get the proper output, okay, like this message should be printed, we need to call this function set buffer function, so that we clear the buffer which our program uses to output the data on the standard output device. So set buffer function sets the buffer. So buffer can be buffer means the memory which is used. You can consider it as the stream or the channel as well. So buffer means the memory. So every stream uses some part of the memory, main memory, that is known as the buffer. So that needs to be clear, so that our data from the program could properly flow to the standard output device. So we are going to, before we are executing the program, I have called this function so that our output from the program should be properly displayed on the standard output device. So before displaying the output, I have called the set buffer function and use the two parameters. So first parameter is used to tell the compiler which stream you want to clear, which buffer you want to clear, and what value should be there. So null means it should be all the data from the previous data or the occupied thing from that buffer should be wiped out. I hope it is clear.
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir, for your explanation for this. And I have another question. Like, is it
Yes.
required in the Eclipse only, or is it a best practice to use this setverb function in another platform as well, like in the MUJ virtual lab platform? Is
No,
it
in
required
that
to
you
use
don't
that as well?
require. No, in that you do not need to require use this because it is the web-based interface, and there we are not using such kind of thing, and the web interface automatically displays clear, do all the tasks for you. So maybe internally they have implemented something like this. So in most of the IDEs, in other IDEs also, if you are getting the proper output without using this function, it means some memory management is already they are built in those IDs.
Okay, sir.
So there you do not need to use.
Okay, okay, sir. Thank you, sir. I got an idea about this. Thank you, sir, for the explanation.
Okay. Any other participant want to ask any other question? Just someone is there. Okay, no other questions. So I think we can end this class. Divya ma'am.
Thank you, sir, for your session. Now, if you still have any doubt, then kindly post it on the discussion board. Thank you, everyone. So, sir, can we wind up the lecture? Have a nice day. Thank you, everyone.